Hello everybody, my name is Wong Reno, and today we are going to be drawing the cervical plexus with Mr. Michael King here. Because there are no good cervical plexus videos on YouTube, we have decided to do it today for you. Alright,
let's get started. Let's look at how to draw the cervical plexus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are our 5 cervical nerves. So let's connect them all. Then we're going to have one branch going from cervical nerve 1 over, that gives 2 branches. And we have between 2 and 3 another line going here. We have one more line going down from 3, 4, and 5. We have this here, our hypoglossal, giving rise, and then our accessory going this way. And 2 lines coming out like this, together. Then between 3 and 4, going down, giving multiple branches. Then we have our loop coming down here. We're going to go down here, go back up to 2, and also connect it to 3. The first cervical nerve, C1 through C5. Let's go ahead and get those drawn out. And all these nerves are going to need to communicate, so we're going to connect them all together. Then we're going to have 2 main communicating cranial nerves. The first one's going to be the hypoglossal, or cranial nerve 12. So we're going to go ahead and write 12 here, or hypoglossal. Second one's going to be the accessory nerve, running down the back. That's going to be cranial nerve 11. Accessory. All right, next we're going to start off by talking about the cutaneous nerves of the cervical plexus. So first, coming from C2 and C3, we have the greater auricular nerve. We'll abbreviate that as GA. Next, we have the lesser occipital nerve. We'll abbreviate that as LO. Okay, next we're going to give rise, C3 and C4 are going to give rise to the supraclavicular nerves. We're going to go ahead and branch out like this. Okay, then our next cutaneous nerve is going to be innervated by C2 and C3. That's going to be our transverse cervical nerve, also known as anterior cutaneous nerve. Okay, now we have our 4 cutaneous nerves. We have the greater auricular, lesser occipital, supraclavicular. Let's go ahead and write that in. Supraclavicular. Transverse cervical, also known as anterior cutaneous. Let's go ahead and draw our first muscular nerve. So C1 gives rise to two nerves. We have the geniohyoid and thyrohyoid. Next, we're going to go ahead and make our descending hypoglossal nerve here, going back up to C2, also innervated by C3. So this is our descending hypoglossal nerve, also known as the superior root. So the first nerve is going to be omohyoid superior. Then there are going to be 3 more down here: sternothyroid, sternohyoid, and omohyoid inferior. And these 4 are collectively known as ansa cervicalis. These are all going to be innervated by C1, C2, and C3, and this is going to be known as descending cervicalis and inferior root. Okay, next nerve we're going to go through is C3, C4, and C5 give rise to the phrenic nerve, mainly by C4, so we're going to circle C4. That's the main branch of this phrenic nerve. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little cleanup work here. So the hypoglossal nerve is going to be tongue muscles. So write that there. Accessory nerve is going to be trapezius and sternocleidomastoid. All right, one last thing we're going to include is a communication with the vagus nerve. Cranial nerve 10 is right here. And some people like to include from C3 over here muscular branches. All right, let's now do a short review session of our cutaneous nerves. So our first cutaneous nerve is greater auricular, coming from C2 and C3. Along with it is lesser occipital nerve, also from C2 and C3. Our next cutaneous nerve is from C3 and C4, the supraclavicular, gives multiple branches going over the clavicle. Our fourth cutaneous nerve is a transverse cervical nerve, as we said, is also known as the anterior cutaneous nerve. Now let's look at our muscular nerves. We have the genohyoid muscle, also thyrohyoid muscle, nerves coming from C1 only. Then we have C1, C2, and C3 giving rise to omohyoid superior belly, sternothyroid, sternohyoid, omohyoid inferior belly. Then we have our phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve also innervates the diaphragm and pericardium. Then also we have our cranial nerve number 12, which is known as the hypoglossal nerve that innervates the tongue muscles. And our cranial nerve 11, the accessory nerve innervates the trapezius and sternocleidomastoid. Let's go with nerves of cervical plexus one more time. So first we have our cutaneous nerves, the greater auricular and lesser occipital coming from C2 and C3. We have our supraclavicular coming from C3 and C4. And our transverse cervical coming from C2 and C3. And here's the abbreviations we had on the diagram, so to make it a little bit easier. Now let's go to our muscular nerves. We have the geniohyoid and thyroid coming from C1. We have our omohyoid superior and inferior coming from C1, 2, and 3, along with sternothyroid and sternohyoid. And we have our phrenic nerve coming from C3, 4, and 5. I wrote the 4 bigger because that's the main contributing factor. And this phrenic nerve innervates the diaphragm and pericardium. Then we have our cranial nerves, vagus number 10, accessory 11, hypoglossal 12. And that was the cervical plexus under 5 minutes. Fiesta Mike.